Hello, everybody. Welcome. KPI Fire webinar today on Balanced Scorecard. We're going to just give folks just another minute or so as people log in. I can see a couple people are logging in now. So just about one more minute and then we'll start the broadcast. Thank you. Okay, I think people might still be sort of trickling in, but it's time to get started. So let's go. Welcome everyone to this webinar on using a balanced scorecard to drive and deploy your strategy. Uh, Today's agenda, what we'll do, we'll do a little brief introduction of myself and the company, what KPI Fire does for those of you who are not customers. I see that there are one or two that are current customers of ours, and thank you for your business. So we'll do a little introduction about the company. We'll talk about using the balanced scorecard and how to use that, the weighting system and how do you weight a balanced scorecard. We'll then get into the sort of the how-to in KPI Fire. And what does it look like? How do I structure it? How do I create this balanced scorecard scoring mechanism in the tool? And it's step by step through that we'll go. And at any time you've got a question, please pop it into the question box. Right there on GoToMeeting webinar, there's a little questions area where you can submit a question, or you can use the chat box. There's either way. You just post your question in either of those boxes, and I'll see it. I'm monitoring on a second screen, so as it pops up, I'll see it and I'll cover it. Okay. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. So let's pop in a little bit of introduction to myself. I'm the VP of Sales at KPI Fire, and my background is in continuous improvement, over 30 years actually. I led a Baldrige-based quality initiative at Whirlpool Corporation, a 3-year Baldrige examiner. I actually left Whirlpool to go to Pitney Bowes, which took me from Benton Harbor, Michigan to the East Coast in Connecticut, where I am now. And we started a Six Sigma initiative from the ground floor at Pitney Bowes, and I was a sort of a leader of that element. Currently, this VP of Sales, right? So that's my background. A little bit on those of you that aren't customers, KPI Fire is all about, and it really looks like this. It starts up here with goals of the organization, communicating across the organization. Hey, what's important to us? What are we trying to achieve? Where we're going? What's our strategy look like? Right? So then once we've put those communicated goals, we can cascade them throughout the organization. We then have metrics that are associated with those goals. How do we measure? How do you know if you're getting there? Are you getting better? What's the trend look like? Are you hitting your targets or not? From there, so that's the metrics around that, recording performance and reviewing those performance areas. The bottom area, and we're not going to cover this today, but really the project actions where you might submit ideas, evaluate those ideas, turn them into projects, manage those projects, right? How are they related to those metrics and goals, and what are they, how are they aligned with our goals and key objectives? And then finally, that last piece sort of in the middle is the area where we're going to track performance and report to plan. And that's really what the Balanced Scorecard report looks like and where it falls on KPI Fire as we get into today's session here. Okay. So that's the real quick overview. Now, using a Balanced Scorecard. If you haven't read Norton and Kaplan and Norton's Balanced Scorecard, you got to go get it. It's like the Bible of Balanced Scorecard books. Right? It really is a driver. I have both of these. This is also a great follow-up, the strategy focused organization, which not only gives the concept in terms of the Balanced Scorecard in the first book, the second book has a lot of great examples of actual businesses, something like ExxonMobil and how they're using a Balanced Score, that kind of thing. Okay. So I highly recommend looking at or referencing those books. Right? Not my background, right? Worked at Whirlpool for a number of years, and we helped drive this transformation around a Baldr's criteria, and they used a Balanced Scorecard, but they called it their value creating objectives, or VCOs. And when we look at what it looked like, it was sort of 4 core areas. This is often typical in a Balanced Scorecard, right? What is customer-oriented view, right? So we had measures and outcomes around retention and satisfaction of customers. Total quality was all about processes and cost reduction and process improvement activities. People commitment, it's all around, employees staying, learning, growing, getting better, and staying and providing value to the company. And then finally, that last piece was growth and innovation. So net income growth, et cetera. Now, when you look at others, I compare this and went out, years ago I did some work with PepsiCo, and their Balanced Scorecard sort of looked like this. I don't know what it looks like today. I haven't looked at it lately, but it was very similar, right? Performance, top tier financial results. They wanted to save $5 billion in over a 5-year period of a cost savings reduction. That's a huge target. Products, they want to grow good for you, 38 to 50% of their products, 6.4 trillion calories taken out. I mean, these are very specific sort of targets, and they had people, the planet, environmental impact. So a Balanced Scorecard might look very different for each organization based on what business you're in, what you're trying to achieve. If you're a nonprofit or for-profit business, etc. So there's a little sort of background. There's some examples of Balanced Scorecard. Now, Balanced Scorecard, right? We have those views. If I go back there and look at those, when we think about some of these goals and objectives are more like leading indicators, things like employee satisfaction and stuff. And if employees feel good, then we can do customers, and then we can make money. And so there's like a hierarchy of sort of short-term or immediate impact sort of goals versus lagging indicators like growth or EBITDA, etc. And when given that, not all of those are weighted the same, right? There's more importance sometimes given to the financials versus other leading indicators, right? So we want to weight the scorecard. Likewise, the metrics that you're tracking aren't always equally as important, right? So the weights on those are also considered when looking at a Balanced Scorecard. And we'll show you how to do that in KPI Fire. Okay, so let's jump in here to KPI Fire itself. And remember, if anything comes up on your mind there, you want a question, you want to put it in that question box or in the chat window, and I'll see it pop up. Okay. So here we are on this fictitious company here, Acme Corporation, and I'm going to go into a huddle board that we've already built and saved up here in what we call our waffle icon up there at the top. There's my Acme Balanced Scorecard, so I'm going to pop into that one and view what this looks like. It's sort of an end result Balanced Scorecard view. Okay. And what we're looking at here is all of our highest level objectives. So these will look very similar to things that like Whirlpool and what PepsiCo was measuring. Things like profitability, right? Profitability is a key driver. Customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, capabilities and processes. Now, each of those has its own weighting system. We'll talk about this weighting, right? When we start looking at a total score, which our total score for this month is 80.3, that's based on this weighting mechanism. That shareholder values of 40%, 25%, 25% by employees, and 10% on process capability. Right? Each of those line items have key metrics that are associated with it. So this has got 3, EBITDA, revenue, and revenue from new products. Those metrics aren't always equally weighted, so there is a weight mechanism on those. You can see 40, 25, 35, which is driving that performance to 83. Now, the way this works is, how does that score get in there? Right? I'm going to do one real quick. Here's yield. You can see how yield is white, which means there's no data for October in this data field at this point. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this element there, right? And here's my actuals on this project, on this metric. So we're talking about yield. Here's our history of years and what we want it to be. Right? If we look at our chart here, we got over time, we'd like it to go up and be around 90% yield, right? And as the performance comes in, right, this might be, hey, we're at 79%. Let's just put it in there, 70%. Ooh, very bad. Hits a yellow. And what happens here is that BSC score comes out at 88. Right, on a 100-point scale. Right? Now, where does that come from? And let's look at how that happens. Right? So let's get out of here. Right? And look at now that we can see the performance for the month is now in, and the score is in to give me my total final score for the month. Right? And this is on a 100-point scale. Now, you could decide, maybe we want to do this on a 5-point scale. 0 to 5. I'm doing it here based, in my background. You go to school. You sort of mentally, if we're at 95, that's an A. If we're at 60, boy, that's not very good. That's sort of a D, right? And if we're 50 or 40, you're in a failure mode, right? So I put this on a 100-point scale, and the way that works is it's an administrative function. You go in. You decide as an organization, here is what my scorecard scale looks like. Remember those, each metric has a green, a yellow, and a red or below red zones based on the numbers and the targets for those metrics. So if it's over green, it's a 100 score. If it's green zone, it's a 90, yellow, 80, etc. So when we put that score in, it automatically takes that score and says, right, you were in the yellow based on the targets. That gives me an 88 on this metric. Okay. Now, what we want to do, let's build this out just a little bit more detail, and I'll go to another site here. And these are these 3 variables here that we've got right now. We want to add a new sort of variable in on the metrics on our scorecard. So what I do is go up here at the top, right, and I say I want to add a new goal. Right? And let's just call this 4.0. And let's just say process improvement. Right? Make sure I spell it correctly. Right? Add that in. Let's go back to that grid view. Right. So we've built out the highest level area here. Now, with that, after we've done that, we can add sub-goals or the annual goals around this, and we've already done a number of those. So profitability, these are just very generic. Using a numbering system. Now, this is often helpful. If I have the highest level goal at 1.0, then 1.1 is an annual goal that's related to that. So anytime you see you know that that's related to the first goal, right? So these are separate goals. This might be, EBITDA. This might be revenue. This might be NPS, right, etc. Down here, we don't have an annual goal, so I'm going to take that, add it, and say I'm going to add a goal to that. And let's add that goal, and let's just go in and say, let's put in, 4.1 annual goal. All right, add that in. Great. Now we've built that. Okay. Now each of those has metrics associated with it. So when we build this out, we add metrics to those. We've already built most of those metrics here. Right? The one that we haven't built is here. So let's just go in and take that and add that metric and say this is 4.1 metric. Add that in. Okay, there it is. Now we need to define that metric. So if I pull up that metric, go into my data tab, and we want to define what is we're measuring and what are our targets on this. Right? So first off, we determine, right, is this a bigger is better or a smaller is better? Right? If it's accidents, it's smaller is better. If it's, revenue, it's bigger is better, right? Or it's a control chart. You've got a target and you want to stay right at that level and understand the variation around that level. So we're going to use bigger is better here. We're going to have it's a number, it's not a currency on this metric. And I'm just going to take and populate my numbers here. And I've got this in an Excel file so I can just populate real quickly what my target zone, my red, yellow, and green zone is, my actuals. Okay. So we've built out each of those metrics, right? Let's pop it in. Now that we have sort of our strategy all together, we can then begin starting on a huddle board. Exit. Come on. Looks like it's frozen. That's interesting. Okay. Hold on a second. Hey, Keith, what's going on here? Let me just see if I can. Well, that's interesting. Let's see if I refresh the screen. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right. So now I'm going to go in to my huddle board. And the way I do this is I go in and say I want to add a new huddle board, add this Balanced Scorecard huddle board into the site, and I've already put that in there. So now we've got this blank huddle board. Got my goals down here on the left. You add a goal, go in and say there's my profitability goal. I'm going to put that at the top. It's already linked with those metrics. Take my second goal. Let's add that in. That's my customer loyalty. Right? Take my third goal. It's my employee satisfaction goal. And then finally that fourth one, that process improvement objective. Right? So, what you note here is I've got all four of these variables with no weights in them. And so, right, some are more important than others. Let's grab one and let's go into the weight method. So I click on it and say, okay, what is this weighting? Well, hey, this is 40% of my total. Customers are 20%. Right? What you'll see is this is going to tell me, hey, I've got 60, I got 40 left to get to 100. Right? So next, employee satisfaction, maybe that's another 20. Right? And process improvement is at 20 as well. Right? Zero difference, it means I'm not over it, I'm right on 100%. save that, exit, right? So now I've got a weighted mechanism. Likewise, in each of these metrics, these two metrics that measure customer loyalty, if I click on that, right, the same purpose. I've got two metrics. One's more important than the other, and actually it's more like 60-40 in this case. Okay. And then finally, this one at the bottom, let's make sure I've got that, right? This process improvement, I want to make sure that that metric is linked to it. So I just type 4, there it is. That's the metric that links to that. And since it is the only metric that we've got, it's 100%. All right. So now we've built out the scorecard. Now what I'd like to do, right, is look at the performance. So every month we come in and say, let's get in here and go to today. So today in November, we've got data sets coming in already on some of these metrics. You can see that I've got some notes on, hey, we're at 64.4, poor performance in product XYZ is the reason, right? Product ABC is driving this excellent performance here in this metric area, right? So I've got some comment on the performance. So here I click on it. I can see here's my current month, what my view is, and I would put in, what is my thought process, right? Here I've got one that we did earlier. It's like pandemic issues caused this problem. So let's save that and make it the comment for today. Okay, so in this way, right, I work through my my targets. Let's just make sure this is, let's say that's 40 and this is 60%. There we go. All right. So now I've got a full balanced scorecard review, right? We're at, given the weights on the scoring mechanism, 4488 is our total score across all of these elements. Okay, are there any questions? I don't see any questions come in. This is basically what we wanted to look at today. Is there any questions or things that you've got? I don't see any comments coming in on the chat or the question box. So if you've got something you would like me to address or go deeper into, we've got a couple minutes here. Okay, well, if there's no questions, if you guys, anybody wants to know more about, KPI Fire and what we do and how we can help, there's my contact information. You can reach us at kpifire.com or my cell phone or email address there. Reach out and we'll be happy to show you a deeper dive. Okay. Guys, thank you for coming and have a great afternoon. Have a great week. Bye-bye.